Hey guys, today we're taking a look at my Destiny board deck as suggested by Lone Star 7. So basically, when you're thinking about a Destiny board deck, you want to try to create a kind of stalling deck, but also a deck that protects you without using traps. And Destiny board decks are very difficult to make because there's so much destruction, out there, and it's very hard to protect yourself without any traps. So I've made this deck. I wouldn't say it's very competitive, just because, like I said, there's so many destruction effects out there in so many different decks that you really can't protect this deck all the time. But with the right hand, this deck can do okay, and I've definitely had some good luck with it. So I'll go through my cards. So Arcana Force, the Fool, obviously a great stalling card, and he's a fairy, which is important for the other ways the deck works. Cardcar D for draw power, very important for getting Destiny board early on. Swift Scarecrow, obviously for stalling from your hand, which is very nice. And then we have the Heralds. I find the Heralds to be very, very important to making this deck work. You just, wait until an effect activates that will get rid of your Destiny board, and you use, Herald of Orange Light, which will, annihilate whatever your opponent's doing and get rid of some of their powerful monsters at the same time. And obviously it uses another fairy, so you can use Arcana Force, which is very good combo. The same thing with Herald of Green Light. He's in here really to get rid of MST, or certain spells like that will really annoy you. And it can also be useful to, negate whatever your opponent's trying to do. So again, that combos well with the Arcana Force. Again, similar to Arcana Force, you have Marshmallon, who's also a fairy, so you can also use Marshmallon for this. So that combos really well. On top of Gellenduo, who's also a fairy, that you can see how this is working out. You have all these stall cards that are fairies that you can also use from your hand to negate stuff. And then you also have Effect Veiler, obviously to keep an effect that will really, really annoy you from activating, just like Herald of Orange Light. And then for the spell cards, obviously Pot of Duality, you're not special summoning at all, so you're going to use this to get whatever you need, usually Destiny board. Upstart Goblin, again, to mill through your deck to get what you need. So then we have the Spirit Messages. Obviously you can run more than 2, you can run 3, you can run 1, you can run more of like the early ones in case you think they'll get destroyed and stuff like that. It's up to you. The real trick to this deck is not getting overwhelmed in your hand by having too many of these cards, so that's why I'm only running 2 of each. But again, running 2 of each still can be a little cloggy. So you can run 1 of each if you want, but if you lose Destiny board and you lose your letters, you are going to be screwed. So it's up to you. I'm also running 1 Day of Peace, obviously a very useful card in this deck. And then 3 Destiny boards, obviously as backup in case they get destroyed early on. Also very important to be able to run 3 copies just to increase your chances of getting it. So no extra deck. For the side deck, again, these are just recommended cards that can also work with the deck. They're not. It's not a side deck for matches, but I'm just going to talk about like the few cards that can also help this kind of deck type. There's a bunch more, and I'll try to talk about a few of them. So Spirit Reaper is another stall card. Again, I use Marshmallon because it's a fairy, so it's up to you. The thing about Marshmallon, obviously, is that he can be targeted by a card effect and then switch to attack mode or something like that, and bad things can happen. So it's up to you. Mask of Darkness, Cat of Ill Omen, both useful for getting your Destiny board. Horus, level 8. If you can build a Horus deck and use this engine along with it, it can be very useful to negate spells. So that's one of the builds you can do. Herald of Perfection, if you're worried about certain traps, this can be a useful one. If you're worried about your opponent activating Dark Bribe or 7 Tools of the Bandit, stuff like that. Currently not what I'm running because I'm not as worried about that, but can be useful. White Dragon Ninja, this actually works really well with the Destiny board, since you can protect it. The only problem is, usually in order to get it out, you need to do the ninjutsu, so that will be sitting on the field. So usually you'll use this with Magic Planter. But it's a weird combo, and you need more monsters and stuff like that. Still can work really well in this deck because you have a lot of stalling cards. Stardust Dragon, if you're running Effect Veiler and White Dragon Ninja, this is also an option. Or if you're just running other cards. Stardust Dragon obviously protects you from MST, which can be very useful. Messenger of Peace can also be a really, really good card in this deck because you can destroy it when it starts to clog up your zones. So it stalls until you need it to go away, which is really nice. Final Countdown. Final Countdown is really interesting in this deck because it can be an alternative to Destiny board. So you can just throw it in because you're doing a lot of stalling. Magic Planter, like I said before, is used for some continuous traps you might use. Dark World Dealings can also be useful to get rid of some of the Spirit Messages in your hand and give you some draw power. up to you. It's still nice to have some of them in your hand in case. Cards like Nightmare Steelcage can be interesting because you can use them for the 2 turns and then it'll go away and you can still build up your spirit messages. Gold Sarcophagus, really good for getting Destiny board. Transmitigation Prophecy, useful for bringing those spirit messages back into your deck. Very nice if you're running like one of each. And good Goblin Housekeeping, nice to kind of get rid of your spirit messages if you draw them. There's a lot of other cards you could use with this deck. You could run Herald of Perfection and kind of use that kind of stalling tactic. You can use a bunch of the other stalling cards. You can use cards like Threatening Roar, Waboku, Thunder of Ruler, all different cards like that. So there's a lot of different options. I personally think what I'm doing is working the best just because I'm focusing on, negating effects, and I have some protection from spells. But obviously the protection from spells is limited, so that could be one of the issues you might run into. But again, I don't think Destiny boards can be really competitive at this point, but it can be fun, and I think this build can do decently well for you. But if you guys have your own Destiny board decks, you can post below, let me know in the comments, talk about what cards you use, maybe it's something I didn't think of. If you like this video, you can subscribe or hit the like button. I'd really appreciate it. If you want to see more decks from me, you can check the playlists that are in the description. One of them will have a list of all the decks I've made so far. Another one will have a list of all the decks I've made for this ban list. You can also check all my contact stuff in the description as well if you want to talk to me, tweet me, duel me, anything like that. But thank you guys for watching. I'll see you later.